It would be a very lucrative side gig. So anybody watching this, you can probably make 15K a month in profit.
All your side gigs, the first one you didn't sell, the second one got acquired, net neutral, and then third one was acquired for 6 figures.
But yeah, it was overnight. It was like, all right, platform's live, and it crashed. The payments didn't work. The video didn't work. Nothing worked. And I was just emailing everybody, and I was like, hey, I'm selling this platform. We're doing no revenue, but it's got really good potential.
If you get an offer and you're first-time entrepreneurs, how do you know whether that's the right offer to take?
You might be able to go get 500K, close to $1 million for something like that.
Really, how does that work? Like when you're setting up a side gig, when is it time to incorporate or time to register a business?
Generate revenue immediately.
You had the idea, not even 12 hours, you'd already got 12 companies willing to pay.
Just talk about that problem. 10 videos a day. At the end of the day, we got investment. I raised $880,000.
90% of the revenue was coming from your personal LinkedIn. I have over 53,000 followers right now, which is insane.
I started posting every single meeting that I booked from a sales perspective and exactly how I did it. I was very specific. It was like, here's how I booked a 208K meeting. There's so many opportunities to make money these days, and people are just wondering, like, how can I? And so I feel like I've kind of figured it out.
Hi everyone, welcome back to The Scene. Today we're here with Troy Munson. Troy, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm pumped to be here.
Well, let's start off with just a one-liner. Tell me a little bit about who you are, what you've built, what you're working on now.
Oh boy. I am Troy, who I am in a one line. An entrepreneur, longtime salesperson turned entrepreneur and dad and weird. I'm really weird. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
I love it. And well, to start off, we're going to go into demo and all the things that you've built later, but there was a story from your childhood that I actually wanted to start with because it was, when I read it, I was like, wow, you can just really see where that entrepreneurial spark and that passion for sales and business came from. And it was a story of you selling Pringles and Gatorade to construction workers that you got from home and you went over there and you sold them. Can you just tell me a little bit more about the story? You know, how old were you when you started it? Why? What made you start?
Yeah, I was probably anywhere from 8 to 10, probably those years. I moved into our first house. So actually I grew up in a family with not a lot of money at all. And so my mom worked, and at the time I had a stepdad. My stepdad owned a Pringles vending machine company. And so he would just go stock offices. So we just always had a surplus of Pringles as well as like Gatorades and all these random different snacks. And at that age, we just moved into our first house from an apartment, and it was in this like small little new build neighborhood where all these little homes are getting built. And so there's a lot of construction workers. And at the time, my mom couldn't afford to buy me anything. So I would just go out there and sell them for $1 a pop. I'd take them from the pantry, put them in a wagon, walk down the street, sell them for $1. And then that's how I'd buy my toys. And that's when I learned that if you build something or even just work hard, you can get what you want. And so that's the story and how old I was. And I feel like maybe those were the early days of entrepreneurship, but who knows?
That's pretty awesome. And it's kind of like, I mean, as I was researching about, with the companies that you built and Demo, obviously, that you're working on now, it seems like it's had quite a big impact almost. And we'll go into what Demo is. But basically, like when I was thinking about it, Demo, the software is already out there. And then there's that friction between people, not wanting to jump on a sales call, not wanting to have to go into that cycle to buy, software. And then you just remove that friction, like you're removing the friction between construction workers having to go buy snacks and then just give the demos to them. Do you think it's had like a bigger impact on the way that you approach businesses and the type of businesses that you work on without maybe even realizing it?
I think so. Yeah, I think subconsciously it probably plays a really big role in everything I do. So yeah, I think it does. I never think about it. I never think of, oh my goodness, this is because I sold Pringles to those construction workers. But I think it definitely has had some sort of subconscious impact to me.
And that was, I kind of said that was your first side gig, your first small business. But, since then you've had a lot of other businesses and you've gone on and grown them and sold them. And we're going to go into all the different side gigs that you've had. But let's just start chronologically, because I think your first one was Soft Leap, right? Tell me the story behind that, how you got started.
Yeah, Soft Leap. Oh, classic. So Soft Leap only worked with a handful of companies, and it was creative prospecting services for Series A and Series B startups. I got started when I was at MongoDB. COVID had hit. We all started working from home. And at that time, prospecting changed fundamentally. It wasn't just cold call and email. You had to stand out. Nobody was answering their office phones because they weren't in the office. So there was like a massive shift in how you had to prospect. So at the time, I was hosting prospecting trainings at MongoDB, and I was like, wait a second, this is actually working, and it's working for other people at MongoDB. I wonder if it would work for other companies as well. So then I ended up reaching out to people, just typically a VP of sales, head of sales, whatever that looked like in a Series A, Series B business. And yeah, I just sold like can't remember the exact packages. It was several years ago at this point, but I remember it was like very cheap. It was way too cheap for the time that I spent, and that's why I actually could not do it any longer, because hosting a
Mhm.
sales training, also doing a sales job, is not feasible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I ended up teaching a handful of companies, and a relationship stemmed from then that we could probably talk about later on that actually carried all the way through my professional career. But that's what SoftLeap was.
And then when you had that idea, starting to go realize that you could teach other companies, not just your own company, how long would you say it took you for execution? Just having that idea and then starting to reach out to other people and, setting up that course and starting to sell to people.
The execution side, I'm one of those where it's like, just build it, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be cute or fancy or anything. You just have to explain your message pretty clearly, which I think that you do incredibly on LinkedIn, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And so I would say it probably took me to get my first discovery conversations was about a week. And at that point, I just had one PowerPoint of what I sold. And it was kind of like the proof was in the pudding, because the way I reached out was how people responded. And that's what I sold, was the way that I reached out. So I'd say it took about a week for me to like go, and I think I bought softleapsales.co from GoDaddy. And then at that point, I just had a landing page, one simple page, and then a PowerPoint. That's how I sold.
And you said that like you sold that for too cheap looking back now. And I think it was $3,000 that you were charging a month, roughly around there. If you're starting a side gig, obviously now in hindsight, you can look back and go, okay, I should have been charging way more. But how do you know when that's your first side gig, how to price it? Like what's a price point that, is feasible for that, something like that?
I don't think you do know. Honestly, I think that I always say never give up anything for free. But at that point, I just wanted to get testimonials and stuff like that. And what I was giving was a 4-week training, 1 hour with the team every single week. And at that point, it also had deliverables, and those deliverables were custom to the company's product and their problems they solved for and stuff like that. And so that part, the deliverables part, took way more time than I expected. For a services-based company, I think it's really hard for your very first one to really understand how much you should price. I think it's kind of like this repetition thing. You do it once, 5 times, 10 times, and you're like, I'm charging $5,000. I should charge $40,000. And that happens a lot too.
And then, it wasn't feasible to keep going on, obviously, because you had to do your time in your actual business as well, and then keeping that going. So how long did that stay active for? And then before you decided to, kind of move on and try something else and stay in your job, obviously?
Yeah, I think SoftLeap went on for about a year, maybe a little bit more than a year, but I just say roughly about a year from like idea to, okay, this is just way too much. So yeah, from I'd say about 12 months. Give or take.
And that wasn't obviously your only side gig. So how long would you say after you let that go and you're still in your job before you started the next one? The next one was referral, I believe.
Yeah, the next one was referral, and it was probably 6 to 7 months later. I'm a nutcase, and nobody, I don't recommend building a software side gig to anybody that is in a sales gig right now, or honestly any full-time gig, unless your full-time gig takes you 20 or less hours a week. But that's my advice right now. But we'll keep moving on.
Well, tell me about referral. How that got started, where that led up to, because that got acquired obviously later on. But yeah, tell me the origin story of that.
Yeah, I'll tell you that. There actually was a little something before referral, but
tell me more.
Before or after? Vocal? Do you have vocal in the chronological order?
I have vocal as afterwards, I think.
Okay, then it might have been after.
I could be wrong on there.
I've done too many because I'm so ADHD. All right, so referral was, I was at a company and they had this crazy referral bonus that they were giving to customers. So anytime that a customer referred somebody, all they have to do is give an intro. And if that company closed, then that singular person, that individual, made $20,000 in cash. That's an absurd amount of money just for saying, hey, you should reach out to this person. Yeah, it's a pretty decent bonus. 3 referrals that close a year and you literally have a whole nother salary. Yeah. And so the only issue was none of the sales reps, there was 24 of us at the time, none of us ended up reaching out to anybody asking for referrals. And if we did, we would only reach out once and never ask again. And referrals are the easiest way to get business because it's like a client, they trust you, they're happy, and like they want to make $20,000, right? So anywho, I noticed that it didn't work, and I kind of like peeled back the onion of why is that? And at first it was like, oh, nobody's asking. Then I realized, oh, there's actually no tracking. Even if they did refer, we have no idea how to track it. 3, I remember when we got our first referral, it was several months into the program that we had. And I remember the Slack channel blowing up, like, how do we track it? But also like, how do we even pay this person and all this stuff? And no one really knew how to do anything. And there's already referral platforms out there, but I made it specific for B2B SaaS. And the idea was, it was essentially outreach or any of these sales engagement platforms that send automated emails, it was essentially just that, but it was for a specific list, and each list got a specific price point. And so, for example, if you had investors, they got 20K. If you had partners, they got 5K,
Right.
whatever. All of them had their own list. You would set up campaigns for that list, so then you can make it somewhat, somewhat relevant or personal to them. Like, hey, thanks for being an investor. Here's our investor referral program, whatever that looks like. And then you can also choose at the point, like when you wanted to give them the referral. Do you want it per lead? Do you want it when it turns into a qualified opportunity, or do you want it when the deal is closed? So all of that was automated, and we got a handful of customers. And then that's when I realized why I said that advice: never build a software company on the side of running a full-time gig, because it got to the point where we couldn't scale. My co-founder, Michael, and I just had, like, we both looked at each other like, dude, like, this is way too much work. So that's what it was. I still love the idea, but regardless, I mean, it is, we sold it to another networking platform.
And when you started that idea originally, and actually now as I'm saying it, I think you started Vocal before. It might have gotten a bit mixed up there, but we'll go back to that later. But as you started the idea, were you applying it in your company first, since that was where you got the inspiration from, or are you just completely detaching it from the company you're working at and going outwards?
Yeah, so funny. I asked my CEO at the time, if I built this, because I'm realizing that we get no referrals, if I built this, can we use it? And he was like, absolutely. It's like, oh, sweet. Like, he wants me to build this. Next thing you know, 2020, this was in 2023. 2023 happened, and that's when people stopped buying software just because they wanted to buy software, and every CFO was looking at every dollar in and out of the company. So when I was there was 24 sales reps. I was the 6th sales rep to join that company, and then they laid off all the way up until we only had 8. So they laid off, 16? I stayed there, but at that point, the CEO was like, there's no side gigs to be allowed here. And I was like, oh, crap. So then I completely disconnected it. I acted like I wasn't building it at all. And then I just, I ran it on the side, kind of completely like solo dolo with one other co-founder. And just a little secret.
And the other co-founder, was he the one that built the platform up? Because are you technical? Were you building it, or just mostly marketing?
I was just kind of like the marketing and sales. He was technical.
Yeah. And how did you find that co-founder? Because I know you've talked about, getting on Facebook neighborhood groups and finding people that way, or on LinkedIn as well. What was, for that one, how did you find him? Yeah,
Facebook neighborhood group. So that one specifically, I lived in a, kind of like a young professional. I'm short right now. I'm gonna raise myself. I worked in like this. I lived in this young professional new neighborhood in Austin, and I just went to our Facebook page and I typed in the keyword software engineer, and every single post. No, there was one post specifically that was like, any other software engineers in the neighborhood, and there were 17 people that commented. And so I literally messaged all of them, hey, I have an idea. Can we chat? And so then me and Michael and I, we met up and we chatted for like 4 hours for the first time. And then we were like, let's build this. Why not? So yeah.
Were there a lot of other people as well that responded to your DMs? And then did you meet with a lot of people, or just when you met him, he was kind of the one?
I talked to a lot of people. I only met him in person. Some other people were interested, but didn't have the time, didn't have like the love behind it or the passion or anything like that. So it is what it is.
And then eventually, you moved on from that and you got it acquired. Tell me the story about how you got it acquired, because I think this one was when you reached out to someone on LinkedIn and then you sold it on acquire.com. Is that right for this one?
Yeah, so we did it on acquire.com specifically because we both didn't want to hire any sort of lawyers to have to like handle all the paperwork. So I sold it to, I can't say, maybe it's public. I might have mentioned it somewhere, but essentially I sold it to another networking platform where it's, warm intros kind of thing. And I knew the CEO from LinkedIn, and I don't actually remember, I should go back. I don't remember how the very first conversations happened. If I just like, mentioned through the grapevine, like, I think I'm just going to sell this platform. Or if he reached out to me asking what I was going to do with referral, I can't really remember which way it went. But we ended up just talking over LinkedIn. I named a price and I was like, here's what we're expecting. You can have all of our customers. I think at the time there was like 10 or 12. Can't quite remember. And at that point, it was like they wanted me mainly for a couple reasons. One, like I posted on LinkedIn, so I had a little bit of a network there. The customers, they were trying to break into the customers that we had, which was great. And then also just the IP of essentially the way it worked, like being able to like only pay out people based on where it was in the sales cycle. So, yeah. And
were you always planning on selling that business, or just as it got through and life happened, then you made that choice later on?
I think life happened. I think at the end of the day, life happened. I wish I went full time on one of these side gigs sooner. But I think life just happened. And I was like, you know what? I got to focus on my main gig. So it was time to get rid of it.
And legally, how does that work? Like when you're setting up a side gig, when is it time to incorporate or time to register a business? Like after you prove the demand, or was it right away that you're just registering in case you plan on selling later on?
Yeah. So I'm not a lawyer. I can't really answer this directly, but I can tell you what I have done.
Yeah.
And I don't recommend or not recommend this advice to anybody. So the way that I typically do it is when you're validating demand and you're getting first customers, I mean, unless you're really dealing with something regulated and like you can legitimately be sued for a lot of money, I don't think it's really worth it until like, I don't know, 25, 50K in revenue. And it's like, all right, let's actually go incorporate.
Yeah.
Obviously that changes. If you're going to look for funding and stuff like that, you need to be a C Corp. So there's those kind of things. For me, especially like right now, I have kind of like this TikTok thing going on. And it's actually starting to generate some revenue. And I'm like, I'm going to wait a little bit until I incorporate. Yeah. So I'd say once you start generating demand and a decent amount of revenue, really go protect yourself legally.
And then, let's go into Vocal as well. How did that one get started?
Yeah, so Vocal, I always say it was the business professional OnlyFans. And the idea here was I wanted to get into real estate flipping because at this point I had just left MongoDB and MongoDB treated me really well. And I did decent there. And so I was like, you know what, I have a little bit of extra cash and I want to be able to go buy and flip homes. So I started following a lot of Instagram influencers and learning how to flip homes. And I was like, damn it, like I need to learn more. So I looked at this guy's course and I think it was like $6,000. I was like, I'm not going to spend $6,000 just to like look at a course. And if I did enough research, I could learn it all on Google, but I also don't have the patience for that. So my thought was, I wish I could just have 10 minutes with him and I pay him like $500 and I could say, hey, XYZ name, here's exactly where I'm at financially. Here's what I'm looking to do. How do I do it? And then I just get 10 minutes worth of advice. So that's when I had the idea of, okay, crap, like maybe there needs to be a platform, kind of like Mastermind, but real-time advice from people that you look up to. And now there is. It's called Intro, and that company I think is doing decently well. So Vocal, yeah, I know, right? So Vocal was that, and then actually, I still think this should be an idea. I don't know, but the idea was to monetize increments of time. So an influencer or a stock trader or a CRO, it doesn't matter. Just somebody with influence out there that can teach people. Can monetize. They can choose how many time increments they want. So 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 40 minutes, doesn't matter. And then they choose their price per increment. And then we were building this way to like actually send video messages back and forth through the platform. So then you can buy like 10 video messages with Grant Cardone or whatever. And then those 10 video messages, he would charge like $5,000 or whatever. And so he could literally be at a red light and respond to it. And like he can make money from that. So my whole point was, this person wants advice. This person wants money because they're money hungry. Like how do we meet in the middle? Never end up working that way. There's a whole story behind that, but that was the idea behind Vocal.
And what happened? Why didn't it work out that way?
Yeah, so we spent $12,000 to get it done through a very cheap engineering team.
On
through
Upwork.
Right? Yeah, on Upwork, yeah. And that was my first time ever outsourcing an engineering team. It was before referral, and now that we're talking about it, I vividly remember. No worries. I vividly remember because I said I'll never do Upwork again when I had the idea of referral. And so, yeah, it's through Upwork. We're getting quoted 50, 60, even 100K from some people on Upwork. And one company quoted us 12. And I was like, hun, I'm going to go spend $12,000. And so I did it and the platform didn't work. We went live with, I think, 27 influencers.
Oh, wow.
15, 11. I can't remember. I think there was 11.
I think it was 11, 30 million across followers, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So 11 with 27 million followers total. That's or 30 around there. Right. And so they all posted on their story like, hey, going live on this platform. And then it crashed. The payments didn't work. The video didn't work. Nothing worked. And I told them to fix it and they quoted me like $30,000 to fix it. And I was like, yeah, no. So luckily we were able to get that acquired for exactly what we spent on it. Pretty much exactly what we spent on it. Pretty much broke even from that to some online newspaper company.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. Yeah.
And then on the day of that launch, like when that's happening, that just must have been like a nightmare. What was running through your head when you first started realizing, the website isn't working and everyone's coming on this ton of traffic, but they can't actually buy anything?
Yeah, the immediate thought that went through my head was like, oh, damn, it didn't work. So that was like the first thought. When I saw the traffic go up on our website, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is kind of cool.
So exciting, yeah.
Yeah, it was super exciting. And then when I realized like I was getting emails like credit card system's not working, nobody can book time with me, I was like, all right. And then I was like, damn, I got to fix this. I got to figure out how to fix this because this is my first time like really having some decent volume.
Yeah.
Was not able to fix it, but I think I burned some bridges there with people that have some good swag in the game. So that's kind of annoying, but it is what it is.
And on that day, were you just having to reach out to all those people, all the influencers that you talked to and all the customers? And if you couldn't fix the website, just trying to firefight on that end?
I think I actually just said screw it and completely detached, if I remember correctly. I just completely detached. I was like, you know what?
I'm out of here.
Like, yeah, I'm out. So yeah.
And then, so you didn't fix the website and then you got it acquired. Was that a pretty short turnaround of just, I need to sell this, move on, trying to recoup my losses there, that type of thing?
Pretty short turnaround. Yeah, I went to Flippa, which is an acquired or acquired.com, whatever, like one of their competitors, marketplace for SaaS apps and stuff. And I, instead of actually posting it because it wasn't generating any revenue because it didn't work, instead of actually posting it, I just went through all the people that were like looking at platforms. I don't know exactly how I did it at the time. This was many years ago. And I was just getting emails from profiles and I was just emailing everybody. And I was like, hey, I'm selling this platform. We're doing no revenue, but it's got really good potential. And I don't think they ended up doing anything with it. But yeah, it was just a quick due diligence process of like what it's built on, tech stack, all that stuff. And yeah, we dealt with it like that.
And now, so you sold a couple of companies that way, like on Acquired, on Flippa. What's kind of the process of listing a company? Well, I guess you didn't list it on that one, but listing a company and then when you get an offer, knowing what it is to sell for, because SaaS companies, you know, they kind of do the industry averages like 5 to 12 times EBITDA, but that's quite like a big range. If you get an offer and you're first time entrepreneurs, your first business, your first time selling, how do you know whether that's the right offer to take?
So highly recommend having some sort of advisor that has sold a company. Some of them will either do it for like a percentage, so it's kind of free, and obviously they take like a little cut out of what you sell it for. Others cost a little bit. So I actually worked with somebody that is known for like in the micro SaaS community is what it was called. So I worked with them to like really understand the pricing and stuff like that. But mine was a little bit different, but I highly recommend that because as a first time seller, like let's hypothetically say you spin up a SaaS, micro SaaS, doesn't matter, all the same. We're just going to call it the same for now. And it does 100K in revenue or 10K in MRR. Doesn't really matter. Chances are like you're going to get a handful of offers, especially if there's like good trajectory for it to even do bigger things. You're going to get a handful of offers and everything will look somewhat exciting to you, especially if it's your first time selling something that you've built. Yeah. So definitely work with somebody else, because if somebody offers you, $150,000 for your 10K MRR business cash, and you could just like, go away and be like, yes, I just made 150K from that. It might sound exciting, but at the end of the day, you can probably like paint the picture of what it looks like in the future, 24 months down the road. It could be doing X, Y, Z, and you might be able to go get 500K, close to $1 million for something like that. So, definitely work with somebody, and it's really hard, like, but it also depends on like what you have going on. If you're in debt and you're trying to get yourself out of debt and like 150K gets you out of debt, maybe that's your move, right? And so just depends on how much risk you can take on, how patient you are, what you have going on in life. But again, highly recommend finding some sort of acquisition advisor.
And how did you find that person? Just on LinkedIn or someone you knew?
I'm a big time follower of their podcast, and so I just reached out to them.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, they're open to having a conversation.
And then, well, all your side gigs, they've slowly made more and more revenue. The first one you didn't sell. The second one, then it got acquired and it was kind of net neutral. And then third one was, I think, acquired for 6 figures. I don't think you've said, but 6 figures around that range. Yeah. What's kind of some practical takeaways? Like, obviously, you've learned more from every single business that you do and then being able to apply it. Is there anything concrete that you'd be able to give away as advice?
Yes, I will say start generating some sort of buzz immediately. Talk about it a lot. Whatever you're doing, talk about it a lot on any channel that your audience is on. So, for example, referral, it was very strictly on. I didn't talk about anything at Vocal. I had no audience, I had no voice, I had nothing. So, like, boo. Referral was always a little bit better because I had like 5 or 10,000 followers on LinkedIn at the time. Yeah. Demo was way better. I have like 50 or something right now. But yeah. Talk about your problem, talk about it a lot, and then see if there's any sort of interest or if anybody's like somewhat genuinely interested in that problem. I'd say that. I'd also say generate revenue immediately. Like, just go talk about the idea and then be like, would you pay $200 a year for this? Even if you think that you're going to go sell it for like 10K a year once it's launched. Get some early customers, get some revenue, let that pay for your cloud costs if it is a software. Yeah, I mean, at the end, like, don't just get people to pay. Yeah. Make it perfect. With Demo, for example, we had 0 platform and 15 early access paying customers. After the day of launch, we had 45 customers. Just build, talk about the problem, talk about it a lot. If you can and you're open to it and you're not against it, which a lot of people are, and I don't blame them, build an audience. Like, attention is currency these days, and I feel like that's the only way to make money is to generate a lot of attention. There's some other ways you can go about it, but like bulldozing your way into like a very successful business is not very feasible or
Hmm.
possible these days. I'm not saying it's impossible, but there's easier ways to do
A
it.
lot harder, yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're creating that buzz, are you talking about the product first? Say on LinkedIn, you have a company that you're going to start. Are you talking about it first and then setting up a wait list and then publishing it? Or, creating the product, getting it live, and then kind of creating the buzz around it?
You can do either or. I know a lot of people love the whole waitlist method, and I totally
Yeah.
understand that and get that. If you have a waitlist method and you end up having, if you go that route and you end up having 10,000 people on your waitlist and the product sucks and it just completely F's up, like
Yeah.
that's kind of bad. Like that's a horrible first
Yeah.
impression. So it's almost like, I don't know, right? Like
Yeah.
there's different ways you can go about it. I think if you have more of like a consumer-based product, then I think a waitlist is probably better. But if you're having like a full SaaS product where a company has to invest in it, like what's a waitlist going to do? Unless you can go like a
Yeah.
ChatGPT where you can go and just buy it yourself as a user. But again, that's a consumer-based business. So if it's consumer-based, build that waitlist, get some hype. And like nowadays, I say this to everyone and anybody, like Real Shorts, TikTok, let's say it is a consumer-based business, just talk about that problem. 10 videos a day, doesn't even matter. I have a buddy creating
Yeah.
a tequila company, and I was like, dude, people are probably interested in knowing what it's like to like creating a tequila company in the background. Just make videos of yourself, just your face. Like,
Yeah.
today I just dropped off a load at, this store in Chicago, whatever. Like, it's very interesting to see people. It's actually why I buy a lot of brands when they're building behind the scenes and in public. I'm like, yeah, like, I'm gonna support you.
I
So,
love those videos. They're awesome.
yeah, they're sick. They're sick. So, yeah, if it's a consumer-based business, talk about it on whatever channel your audience is, and like, don't be shy. Like, just put your face out there. It's a little weird and uncomfortable, but whatever.
And we'll get into more of, marketing on LinkedIn and building that personal brand a bit later. But first off, just how are you creating these business ideas? Because you've talked a lot about, after Vocal, I think you learned not to try and create a new technology, but, just to find those little problems and find that friction in bigger markets, and then you can go on and solve it. How are you, how did you change your mind and think of that framework to just approaching life? And I think when you start seeing it that way, you can see a lot of problems and then start to see a lot of solutions. What's your framework on that?
Yeah, so with kind of like to your point on Vocal, I try to create this new category per se, where you had to build demand, and
Yeah.
like that's tough. I think that if you're
Yeah.
creating something, and unless you have a lot of money, millions and millions, I think that you should create something in a market that already has demand. Like, don't create demand, just go where the demand already is, and then make something a little bit better, a little bit easier to use, a little bit more consumer friendly, a little bit more sticky, whatever that a little bit more is that you want it to be. Do that, because building demand is really hard. It takes way longer than you would ever expect. Again, especially in B2B, you can go viral on TikTok literally overnight. So maybe not there. But that's kind of my thought process around that. But yeah, for me, when it came from like Vocal to demo, even demo, I wouldn't say it was like category creation, but it's almost like a category evolution, going from G2 and like software reviews, just reviews, to like actually seeing the whole product.
Yeah.
I would have done things differently for sure if I were to run it back. But regardless, that's after trying to create a whole new category, I'm like, damn, this sucks. Like, nobody knows what this is, and now I have to go educate
Yeah.
people, then get them to pay. That's a tough business to be in.
And then I never asked, I don't think, what's the timeline for these businesses? Because you're working still a full-time job. Is it just like nights and weekends? And then what's that kind of turnaround from idea to execution, then to listing it, and then to selling it?
Yeah, so referral specifically, Vocal took about 3 months, I believe, 60 to 90 days to build. And so they built that. And then at that time, I was literally on the couch every single night, just Instagram messaging a bunch of influencers like, hey, you can monetize every minute of your time. You want to be part of this. There was that. And so, yeah, every night on the couch, when I wake up, when I go to the gym in the morning, it was just like message, copy, paste. It was ridiculous. And then same thing with demo, and even referral was just, a lot of the time it was at nights, or a lot of times on weekends as well. And I'd say like the worst part was, it was also during work hours, but then every time I started to get some sort of buzz, some sort of traction from a side gig, my W-2 gigs slowly started getting worse. So I'm in sales, so I have a quota, and I'd be like hitting quota, and next thing you know, I have like the side gig get slowly doing business, and then like my quota would start slipping. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, I gotta be like, oh crap. And so that's why I say, like, don't build a whole SaaS while working a job. I do think it'll impact performance at some point. But and then Demo started as just an events company, like just hosting demo day events.
Yeah.
And then we kind of saw like, damn, people really just want to see demos. So we built a marketplace. I think that took about 3 months to build the very first version. And then now it's obviously been a couple of years, but yeah. So idea to execution is always pretty quick. I don't
Yeah.
think about my idea or validate my idea too much. I'm just like, let me go charge people, and
just
if they
get it done.
pay, then we're good. Yeah.
And kind of more, I like to talk about more about those demo days, because it was really interesting doing the research for this, because I read that you had the idea, and then I think within that full day, not even 12 hours, you'd already got 12 companies willing to pay to have their demos listed. Tell me more about, having that idea and then such a fast execution, such a fast turnaround time.
Yeah, so I'm really quick when I have ideas it's actually to a fault. Like for even now, I'm like, damn, like that sounds like a cool idea. What should I do? And I go and like, now you can vibe code stuff to see how it would work and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
With demo, I was headed home from the gym, and I was like, I think I saw like a LinkedIn post or something about just like, I hate the process of getting a demo. And I was like, like maybe what I can do is just go out there and put 5 demos in one room and then present it to an ICP. So for example, our very first one was an account-based marketing demo day, an ABM demo day. And I was like, okay, cool. So marketers, demand gen marketers, like they all want to see this. I'll just go get 5 ABM companies and I'll charge them all at the time. I think I was charging $250 per person to present. Now it's like $3K per company to present.
Yeah.
So prices, again, definitely go up. You always charge less in the beginning. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to figure it out. So I went out there, reached out to a bunch of marketing companies. I was like, hey, I'm hosting a demo day. I'll drive anywhere from 100 to 300 attendees, and it's $250 to present. You get the entire registrant list. And yeah, literally that day I went home. I went to, I can't remember what tool I was using at the time, Apollo, one of these sales tools. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to the companies, go to the marketing leader, message them, let them know. And then, at the end of that day, it was like 12 companies were like, sure, like we'll pay for it. I was like, well, wait a second. I can only have 5.
Awesome.
And I was like, cool. I just made, I think it was $1,250. So, I should have. It would be a very lucrative side gig. So anybody watching this that wants to host demo days, you can probably make $15K a month in profit. So
that's crazy. Yeah. And then, once you got those companies, what was that turnaround time of, okay, now I have to actually figure out how do I get the event? How do I get people to come to the event? Yeah, tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I had no idea how to run a webinar at all. I didn't know what to do. So as soon as I got them to say yes, I was like, okay, great. People to pay, yes. Now go figure out how to actually make it work. And so I just did research on like what webinar platforms to use. Started out with a company called Demio, which is very similar to Demo. Ended up switching platforms and it increased engagement rate, which is great. But started out with that platform and and then I was like, oh crap, now I have to start figuring out how to get people to come to the demo day. So it's the other part of it. And because I had a little bit of buzz on LinkedIn, I would just reach out to marketers on LinkedIn and be like, hey, do you want to come? I set up email campaigns as well, reaching out to marketers, but it mainly was all driven through LinkedIn for the first 10 demo days or so. And so, I was like, got these people to say yes, and then immediately was like, okay, I'm going to go buy a demo platform. I'm going to figure out how to use it. And then from there, I'll present. I don't care. No, in the beginning, oh my goodness. In the beginning, I paid this guy named Josh Carey. He was an iHeartRadio host, $300 per demo day to host it. Because I'm really awkward. People don't know this, but I'm really awkward publicly. And so I was like, I don't want to. I know, but it's because it's a screen. So even then, like with the demo days, I'm pretty natural on. But I was like, you know what? I don't know how this goes. I'm gonna hire Josh Carey. Found him through Fiverr. He was like a podcast host, and I was like, and an iHeartRadio host. I was like, hey, dude, $300 for this demo day. He said yes. And I just went out there and reached out to marketers and ended up driving, I think, like 115 people or so for the very first one. And then I just kept running it up. So that's how we did it.
And then how long did you run that for before then you started to pivot into demo and create more of a proper company than just demo days?
Yeah, so demo days always continued, but it turned the actual platform. Even now we still do demo days, but it's been a few months. I need to get back into it. There's just other priorities. Demo went from demo days to an actual demo platform in about 3 to 4 months or so.
That's fast.
Yeah, that's when I think we were doing 2 demo days a month, and then it was adding up in regards to like how much we were posting on LinkedIn about demo days. Like it went from posting thoughtful and strategic content on LinkedIn or just posting about demo days, and I was starting to like abuse my audience a little bit, and I was like, all right, maybe I shouldn't do this. And so that's when I reached out to one of the co-founders of Demo, and I was like, hey, I'm hosting these demo days, do you want to join? And then from there we both just talked, and we were like, let's just build a demo marketplace. And so then we knew an engineer, had it all built out, and I think it took about 3 to 4 months from the first demo day.
And on that point, actually, how do you balance, keeping posts and trying to grow your audience and then getting them to, switch over to your company while not fatiguing them and having too many posts about the same thing, kind of?
Yeah, balance is hard. I'm learning that. I'm learning that right now. So for the last 2 years, I haven't really monetized LinkedIn, and I feel
Hmm.
like I should have, but I was running, and I am running Demo, which is we kind of pivoted from the marketplace recently, but I am running Demo, and it's a marketplace to go evaluate software without any bias at
Hmm.
all. So I couldn't just shout out a sales tool because that's usually that's what my followers and my audience is on LinkedIn. I couldn't shout out sales tools because then I'm biased towards that company.
Yeah.
So anyways, like right now, I'm actually trying to figure out that balance. Like what, if I do get paid for a post, what is that? And even like a webinar, even if it's not a paid post, even a webinar, like do I post once a week? That's probably what I would do for a webinar, especially if it was a
Hmm.
webinar I'm hosting. It'd be like a once a week kind of post, but I post 2 times a day for the most part. And so the balance is tough. The balance is tricky. I know a lot of people, especially if you're getting brand deals, take the money, and I don't blame them. Like you built
Hmm.
an audience, go make your bag. Um, but yeah, that's I think the balance is tough. It's tricky. And I don't know, once a week, maybe you can do some sort of brand post or sponsored post, but
Okay.
then the other 4 posts or whatever it is
Yeah.
have to be really narrowed down to your audience.
And before you were building out that marketplace, when you're just running the events and the demo days, were you doing a lot of outreach? Like, what was kind of your percentage? Like, how many companies were you contacting versus how many were you getting back? Or was it more inbound at that point?
For the demo days or for demo specifically at the
Just for demo
marketplace?
days first.
There was no outbound. It was all prospecting, and I was
Oh,
reaching
okay.
out to all of them. But I would go to, for example, my idea was the more narrow the demo day, obviously the less people come, but the higher the titles will be, and
Conversion, yeah.
the conversion will be much higher. The way that I was thinking about it was I did a ABM demo day, then I think I did like a cold outbound demo day where it's just cold
Mm.
outbound tools, and then I kept going with like things like that. I even did like a B2B contact database demo days, anybody in the market for B2B contact databases. And so what I would do is I'd go to Google and I'd be like top 30 cold outbound tools 2023 or whatever
Hmm.
year it was, 2024. And then of course there's all these like blog written articles, and I just would reach out to every marketer at that company.
Right.
Because at the time, like ChatGPT wasn't a thing. That came out a little bit after our marketplace launch.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, that's what I did. I reached out to them, and again, our price was so low, and I didn't realize that actual demo days or even like somewhat demo day adjacent would charge 15K for a slot, and I'm over
Oh,
here
wow.
charging 250. Yeah, it's crazy how much events charge. And I'm over here charging $250. So a lot of them thought like they even like I've had messages that were like, "Is this real?" And I was like, "I think so."
I hope it
I don't know.
is.
I gotta figure it out. I don't know. Yeah. So that's kind of how I ran it.
And how long were the slots for? 250 for, is it an hour session and then they do little pitches, or how does that work? I've never been to a demo day, so.
A demo day is typically an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes or so, and then
Okay.
everybody gets 20 minutes to pitch. And there's 5 companies to pitch, so that's an hour and 40 minutes? Yeah. So I think I just did that math right. I have no idea. But
I hope
yes,
so. I don't do
they're
public math anymore.
so yeah, it's about an hour. They're an hour and 45 minutes from start to finish, and everybody
Okay.
gets 20 minutes to pitch.
And then, so then you started pivoting into the marketplace. What was that pivot like? Was it a very almost like quick and we're completely pivoting now? Or was it more gradual and we're slowly starting to build this up?
It was a quick pivot, and it was more so we were just building on the demo day momentum of people started like learning about demo day on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were just like, hey, we've done demo days. We've had thousands of people come to our demo days. We're just going to turn this into a demo marketplace. So now you can see
Right.
demos without jumping into a sales cycle. So it was very quick. I did a very big influencer campaign on LinkedIn that was pretty successful in the beginning. And so that really, really helped us as well. But yeah, it was overnight. It was like, all right, platform's live.
That's awesome. And on launch, I think you had 15 companies, willing to pay. And I think in 5 months, there was over 1,000 that were requesting to be on the site. How did you grow that so quickly? That's massive.
That influencer campaign. So it was myself, my co-founder, who also, I guess you could say, is like a LinkedIn influencer. I hate using that term. We just have an audience on LinkedIn is kind of what I say. But it was us. And then we ended up getting, because our network is, I'd say like we have a pretty strong network, which is great. And I'm blessed and very fortunate to have that. But we just had everybody in our network shout it out. And when we did that, there was just this ripple effect on LinkedIn of like, holy cow, there's actually a
Amazing.
platform to see demos. So yeah, we just had a request form, and that request form was like company name, all this, like a little form to fill out. And we just watched all day, like all these companies coming in. Now, not all of them were a good fit to be on the site, and we didn't put all of them on the site. Right now we have 553. So
Wow.
But regardless, yeah, there was a lot of inbound requests to put their company on our site.
Were you doing any outreach at this point or just completely inbound?
No, just completely inbound at that point.
That's great. And
Yeah.
how are you evaluating like which companies you should put on and which ones to say no to?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I wouldn't say it was anybody and everybody. I think that, so what I actually did manually was I went through and I looked up every single company and then I actually watched their demo. If their demo was like 15 minutes, I wouldn't watch all of it. What I'm looking for is this a marketing explainer video with just like, animated characters in in an AI voice or whatever? If so, not on our platform. I would always watch it. It has to be a platform demo. That's what demo is, to go see the actual solution. So that's the first criteria is this a real demo? The second one was I don't want to have 1,000, 1 employee, 2 employee sales tech companies. Like that just doesn't make sense. And a lot of people are like that right now, right? Like you're going to create your startup and you want to get as much brand exposure as possible. Like just try to throw it up on a new marketplace. Totally understand their move and stuff. But that's another thing is I wanted to have a really good mix of like having companies like ZoomInfo and LinkedIn's, recruiting platform and all that stuff on our platform. But at the same time, still like being able to support the startup culture. So it was a lot of just like juggling how many do we take in that make it like still a quality platform.
And then can you share any numbers about your pricing strategy there? Is it a once-off fee or are you doing a monthly fee? How did that change as you grew as well?
Yeah, so in the very beginning, I think it was $129 a month and it was a monthly fee. It was $129 a month or $3,000. No, there's a $129 a month plan, a $399 a month plan. We moved from this, so I'm trying to think of what it was.
Yeah, no worries.
And then the bigger plan was $3,000 a year up front. And so we essentially monetize based off of traffic. So like, hey, you get to understand like which companies are watching your competitors' demos and stuff like that. And so they had a dashboard. Every company had a dashboard and they can see the data and analytics of who's watching their demo on their dashboard. But to unlock it, they needed to pay us with a credit card. So
so they could list for free and then pay for the dashboard?
Yes. Yeah, every listing was free because then that allowed our site to have more content on it, which allowed better results on Google. So all listings are free, and then you had to pay for the data. And
then you obviously grew that. And did you change the pricing strategy later on? And how did you, as you changed it, keeping those core customers happy and while trying to, increase the fees there?
We changed it, and this is where things kind of, I'd say went south. Like we had to pivot a little bit. So we changed it because our traffic was doing well. A lot of companies, what we noticed is all of the sales tech company customers were getting a ton of leads. And we tracked every click on our website and what everyone was doing. We actually forced people to log in with a business email at first. So then we had tens and thousands of business emails that we had that people wanted to know if they were watching their video, of course. And so in the beginning, sales tech was doing well. So we doubled out on that. Like, let's just go sell to the salespeople, the sales companies. And then we increased the price a few different times, but not on our current customers. Any current customer had their grandfathered price and we never changed it on them. And then a handful of months into demo, the OpenAI launched ChatGPT 3 and that kind of like destroyed our traffic. So we had to like find out different ways to monetize.
Oh, shame.
Yeah. But all that to say is we didn't have any real strategy behind like, traffic went up this month. This company is driving this many leads. Let's go ahead and do like a 3.7x increase on our pricing. It was nothing like that. It was more so, like let's just go from $129 a month to $199. Now let's go do $279 for the starting price. Yeah.
And then after, that OpenAI came out with that, then how did you change your pricing model to fix that issue?
So we only took annual contracts after that, so no monthly. And the reason for that is because we were trying to figure out how to like recover from the website hit that we took from ChatGPT 3 coming out. Even now, it's like, why would you go to demo? You can just go to ChatGPT, ChatGPT, Grok or whatever, right? Gemini, doesn't matter, Claude, and just go evaluate and get a full evaluation of 3 different sales platforms and then have your answer right then and there. Like, no reason to go to demo the marketplace now. And so, we just took annual contracts. And the reason we did that is because we were trying to figure out how in the world do we provide value.
And then
we also started, and then we also put, we also leveraged our audience to generate like bigger contracts. So our contracts actually got bigger with less traffic because we're like, you know what, like once a quarter, we'll also make a post about your sales tool and like just shout it out, like go watch it on demo here. And so that ended up doing pretty well, for sure.
And I know at that point, or I don't know when it originally said, I think a year ago, that 90% of the revenue was coming from your personal LinkedIn. I think 150,000 unique visitors to the site. Is that still the case? Because I know you were trying to decrease that and, have a little bit more detachment.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say that amount of revenue still comes through LinkedIn, but not in a way where it's like leveraging my audience at all. It's actually just through like me reaching out to people in my network, like, hey, here's what Demo does
Right,
today.
okay.
Do you want to have a chat? Or I'm prospecting on LinkedIn because my ICP is very lively on LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
now it's through LinkedIn, but through prospecting and through like more strategic conversations and less of like, obviously what I was saying, where it's like I'm posting on LinkedIn about a specific company to get a customer.
Actually, was that intentional, creating companies that had the same ICP as your LinkedIn audience, or that just happened naturally?
I think it wasn't intentional in the beginning, but it was very obvious that a lot of our traffic came from LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And so it was definitely intentional after that. Like, let's just double down on our ICP on LinkedIn because we know that that's the fastest path to revenue. And so we did it that way.
And before we get into personal branding, I want to talk a little bit about the branding of the companies because, Demo, Referral, Vocal, they all have really unique, as I'm saying, I guess you can't see the spellings, but Referral was with a URL and then Vocal with a U instead of an A, Demo like Demo, DIMMO. How did you, those are really cool names. What's your process for coming up with a brand and coming up with a name for a company like that?
My wife always makes fun of me for the way I name the companies. One, don't do it. I'll say that because then you pigeonhole yourself into something very specific. And so for Referral and Demo, I was like, dang, I got to be a demo. But I will say, like, it was literally that. Like, I would say the word and I'm like, okay, Demo. Is there any weird way to spell it? For Demo, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to do Demo. DIMMO. It was open. I just went to GoDaddy. Now I use Namecheap, but I went to GoDaddy and I was like, great. Like, this URL is open. Let's use it. And then I looked at Demo, DIMMO, and I was like, oh, that almost looks like the word Dino. Let's make Dino as the
yeah,
logo.
I love that
And so yeah. And then for Referral, I think it was an otter was the logo. And I just looked up like what are friendly animals, and it said otter, and I was like, well, it's friendly to give somebody a referral. So that's how I did
cute.
it there. Yeah. So there's no real special strategy behind it.
And I know for Demo, you said originally that you were hoping if you were to exit that it would be around 30 to 40 million to get acquired for. Is that still the case? Is that still the North Star for you?
No, we're going lower than that. That's not the North Star. So no, because I think we put all of our eggs in the B2B marketplace basket. I don't think B2B marketplaces will survive whatsoever. Like G2 just acquired all the other review sites 2 or 3 weeks ago. So none of them are doing well in regards to a traffic perspective. We all got anywhere from like a 70 to a 90% traffic hit. So you have to monetize off more than that. No, at this point, I don't know what the actual North Star is at this point. It's let's just make sure that we're doing the right things and stay on the right track. And like right now, the tech stack consolidation part's pretty big because the last 10 years, people were just buying tech left and right just because, and now they have so many duplicative technologies in their tech stack, and all technologies starting to do the same thing, and it's very specific, function. Sales tech starting to do the same thing, cyber, etc. And so now it's just like it's more like a consulting / like let's trim the fat, and then we can take a percentage of that.
And are you still planning to sell it eventually, or more long term in this one?
Sell it eventually. Not eventually. I'm not a long term guy. I'm in mid issues.
How are you, looking at the different companies that you've sold, are you looking at maximizing, the ability to sell it later on and maximizing how much you can make for it? Like, what are the decisions that you're making in that regard?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's like how much, like right now, the way that I'm thinking about it is how long do I want to do this? So I had a conversation with somebody I look up to a lot, and he was like, do you want to be doing this for 8 years? And my immediate answer is absolutely not. I don't want to build for 8 years again. There's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes of building a company that people don't talk about, and it's not as like glamorous as people make it look like on X or LinkedIn. And so for me, it's like, how much can I get? And then I put like a time limit on it, whether it's 12 months, 24 months. It really just depends, and it fluctuates, to be honest, based on how I'm feeling. So that's how it is. At the end of the day, we got investment. I raised 880,000 or so, a little bit more than that. And I want to make sure like those people get paid back, and I want to make a little bit as well. Actually,
about that investment, I know that you typically don't like raising from VCs, but this was like what you needed to do to step away from the job at Proofpoint. Has that changed your outlook on raising money?
No, I think that if you if you're in a position where you need money to run a company, go raise. um, Now, a lot of people are doing this. I think they're calling it like the silent, I don't even know what it's called, the silent something, where somebody will go raise a series or a seed or even a series A and then know for a fact in their head that they'll never raise again, but they tell VCs
Right.
that they're going to go raise and become the next big
Yeah.
thing because they just want more money.
Hmm.
And a lot of people that I know and a lot of founders that I know have done that, where they've raised a seed or a series A and they're like, I'm good. Like, we are profitable, we're making money, we're growing steadily. It's not this
Yeah.
growth at all costs, 10x, 2x, 2x, 3x, 2x kind of game. And so honestly, people could take that route. Go raise $1 million and try to build the company of your dreams. Anybody can raise $1 million. I strongly believe that.
And then, well, what's next for you? If you sell Demo, then are you looking to still build or still do the side gig or get back into sales? What's kind of your plan there?
I don't know. I think I really I'm very creative, and I just have this creative brain that's always thinking, that always
Hmm.
wants to create something. So parts of me is like, I don't know, going back into like your monotonous sales, which there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that. You make a lot of money, like a lot of money,
Hmm.
and that is beautiful, and I love it. But it's like how fun is that for me and my brain and the way that I'm wired?
Yeah.
But it does sound nice to go back and make what I was making. So who knows whether it's, go get this acquired, and then I'm not sure. I think if I ever were to build something again, I will say the next thing that I build will be something that you can actually hold and it'll be tangible. It won't be a software.
Yeah.
But I have nothing in mind at all. I'm not even thinking about the next thing because it's exhausting to think about. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the next move would be. I'm interested to see as well.
Yeah, just where it goes. And I know that
Yeah.
we're running out of time here. I do want to talk about LinkedIn. So let's move over to that. You, I think, have over 53,000 followers on LinkedIn right now, which is insane. Congrats. Well, tell me more about how you got started posting on there. And then you're posting for, I think, 2 times a day or 1 time a day very frequently. What's your kind of overall strategy on there? I think LinkedIn as well, like in the past 6 months, has just been taking off as a platform. I just got on it recently and I love it. It's great.
Yeah, no, you're crushing it.
Thank
and I
you.
think something that you do really well is, and it's something that I feel like people need to do more of, is like just being very authentic. So you have like a lot
Yeah.
of satire and like you're just like very, very yourself. You're right. Your energy about, I think you're like,
I
you posted
appreciate that.
you posted some red bottoms the other day or something like that.
Yeah.
And so keep that up. It's very relevant. People relate to it. And so like that's the first thing, is post things that people relate to. And this is if you want to build an audience. I think on LinkedIn, a lot of people post like you should build an audience. Honestly, like if you want to stay behind the scenes, don't build an audience. So my strategy and stuff like that. And when did I post? I started really at metadata when I was there, because there was a guy
Mhm.
named Mark Huber, my VP of marketing, and he had 12,000 followers at the time. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's like, he's everything. He is the man because he's got 12,000 followers. And he was posting and people loved him and they loved his content. And there's just this aura that he had where I was like, damn, like Mark's the guy.
You're 5
And
times
so
him now.
I know. But anywho, I was like, Mark's dope. I'm gonna start posting. And this was my first time selling MarTech, where the actual audience was on LinkedIn. So I was like, you know what?
Mhm.
I want to post kind of about our tool, but stories about it versus like, hey, our tool does 30x ROI. It was more so like I'd go take our use cases from our website and I'd rewrite their use case in a story that would be like, just learn from a CMO of marketing that X, Y, and Z, and then it would go into a story of how they achieved it, and then it would be like a little like lead magnet to talk to me kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I did that a lot, and then I started posting every single meeting that I booked from a sales perspective and exactly how I did it versus like, here's how you go and book a meeting. It was like, here's how I booked a 208K meeting. I was very,
That's a good
very,
hit.
very specific of, and I think everybody should be, if you're trying to post like clickbaity things,
Mhm.
have a statistic, have something controversial, or have something somewhat funny. But like it's like the how I always, this is what I write about. Like instead of doing like a how to, like create posts in a how I sort of manner, where it's like here's how I booked the meeting with a $1 billion company. Here's how I closed the deal in 34 days. Be very specific.
Right.
34 days versus 30 days. 34 is way more realistic. So that's what you want to do, is just like tell stories. And you want to make sure that people want to click. And just like TikTok, YouTube, whatever, I don't really watch actually, but I'm a TikTok fiend. Just like TikTok, if it doesn't catch your attention like the first 3 seconds, LinkedIn's the same way. Like we're in this attention economy. Like you got to catch people's
Yeah.
attention or else you just become noise. And so that's it. My strategy is all over the place. I wake up and whatever I feel like posting that day, I post. I don't have any sort of calendar. I wish I had more organization, but I don't.
And you're posting on TikTok now as well, or just consuming on there for now?
I'm doing food reviews on TikTok and Instagram.
Oh, awesome.
It's starting to pop off a little bit. Yeah. So I don't know.
Oh, wait, what's
I don't have
the username? I have to check it out.
Check it out. It's Eat with Troy.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm doing food reviews and specific to Wisconsin, and it's fun. Like I've gotten a lot of free food. Now a lot of places are inviting me to like stay in a
That's the
hotel
best.
and come try their food.
Oh,
stuff. So
wow.
like we're just gonna keep running with it. I don't want to be a full-time food content creator, but free food's nice. So
Yeah, that is nice. Is there like a strategy behind the videos you're putting on TikTok or the videos on LinkedIn? Like, are you thinking a lot about, okay, I need to follow this type of formula or have this type of thing, or are you just kind of posting and you have the intuition now?
on LinkedIn, more so, yes, because I've seen what performs well and like
Yeah.
just repeating what performs well, even though they changed their algorithm a lot. Right now, I feel like it's more personal stuff that does well, which is new to me. So I got to figure that out.
Yeah.
But on TikTok, oh my God, I that's what keeps me up at night is like, damn it, like I posted this video in the exact same format as this video at this exact same time. And for some reason, this one got 1,000 views and this one got 100,000 views. What is going on? It drives me nuts. It drives me freaking nuts.
Yeah, the
But
algorithm
I
on
still, I know, I still keep the same, I still keep the, oop, I just hit my mic. I still keep the same formula and format, but like for some reason it drives me nuts and I can't figure out why one does well and one doesn't. So.
And okay, I know we're kind of nearing the hour mark now, so I'll close it up. The scene is yours. Is there anything else that you wanted to add that we haven't shared today?
This is more so just an offer. Like if anybody wants to build something, wants to create something on LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever, it's way easier than I thought to get started, and it's way easier to monetize things on the side. So like hit me up, whether it's on TikTok or whether it's on LinkedIn. Always happy to give advice on how to start because I think there's so many opportunities to make money these days and people are just wondering like, how can I? And so I don't know. I feel like I've kind of figured it out, just not a crazy scale.
Yeah. That's amazing. And I'll link those in the show notes below. So go check out Troy. He's awesome. And that's a wrap. Thank you.
Thank you so much.